Hi all, welcome back to our next video for the journey of microservice architecture. So in this video, we are going to talk about the basic definition of microservice, what is microservice architecture, characteristics of microservices, structure of microservices, what are their advantages, and how these microservices are communicating with each other. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, in our last video, we have seen there were so many issues in our traditional monolithic application, right? It was difficult for the maintenance and it was difficult to support as well. And the reason was because of the tightly coupled nature of this architecture. Now it is difficult for the development and down the line, after few years, it will become too complex to make any changes after adding so many features continuously. Now resource management was also major issues because of the creation of dependency on the resources who are working on this application since many years. And on the technology side as well, we were having some constraint because we do not have free hand to choose any technology. So to solve all these issues, we will break down this monolithic application to small pieces, which we can deploy independently, we can develop independently, test independently, and we will name them like microservices. And then we will see if it can solve all our issues. Okay, then definition of microservice. Now, microservices are small autonomous services that can be built and deployed independently. Now, microservices are driven from the business domains and needs. So, it breaks down domain functions in smaller independent components, and then technology will help to build these components deployed and function independently. Okay, then general structure of microservice architecture. Now, as you can see here, there are so many microservices and each microservice is having their separate database. And this is the main difference between the microservice architecture and monolithic architecture, where in monolithic architecture we have one common database. Right, one common database for the complete application. But in microservice architecture, each microservice will have their one database. Obviously, in monolithic also we can have more than one database, but still it is completely different because here each microservice will have their own database, right? Then these microservices will continuously communicate with each other. Then you might ask question, then how it is making difference in the monolithic application, where in monolithic application there were so many modules which were continuously communicating with each other. So obviously there is a huge difference because here the communication is completely loosely coupled. And how it is, we will see it in the upcoming videos. Okay. Now there are two ways to have loosely communication between the two microservices. Now first one is using REST API, where one microservice can make a REST call to the other microservice and can fetch the necessary information. And second way is to use the message bus. Now to use message bus, we can obviously use any technology where one microservice will send the payload or data on message bus and the other interested microservice will pull that data from the message bus. And this is the way how we can have the loosely communication between the microservices. Okay, now we have decided that we will break down our monolithic application into the smaller microservices, right? And for the loosely coupled communication, we will use either message bus or REST API, right? So using this approach, we need to find out what did we achieve in this microservice architecture. Now, first one is the agility. Now, dividing our monolithic application into the smaller microservices really help us to work on agile methodology. We can create smaller teams to work independently on different services, which is requirement of agile methodology. Because of small services, we can really add features immediately and show working software after every sprint to the customer or stakeholders. Now we can get immediate feedback and it is easy to make changes in services as those are small and independent. Okay, then regarding heterogeneity, we can really use any technology to implement the microservice. So there is no constraint on the technology. Different teams can implement the microservices in different technology. Now only the constraint is that they should be able to communicate with each other using either again message bus or through the REST API. And that is how we have achieved the heterogeneity in this microservice architecture. Then for faster response, we can really achieve faster development because of the less dependency on other services. Microservices is really a small service So having very small code base, it's not that much complex like monolithic where we need to understand the complete application. So it's easy to manage as well. Then regarding cohesion. Now cohesion is basically a measure to find dependency within a component. So one module or one component should not have different or non-related functionality in it. Example, authentication or business logic or logging services. Now this should be the responsibility of the separate components. So similarly, each component should have their own responsibility. And that is how the microservices can help us to achieve highly cohesive application. The reason is we can really have the different microservices implementing the different responsibilities. Regarding loose coupling, so coupling is basically a strength of dependency within external models. So we should always provide a very loosely coupled application, and that we can really achieve easily in microservice architecture. Okay, then regarding resiliency. Now, resiliency is nothing but how fast your application can recover from the failures. Okay, now in monolithic application, if there is one module which is down, the complete application will be down. But that is not the case in microservice architecture, because even one microservice is down, still your application will be up. And also this microservice will keep on trying to be functioning again. And there are also so many tools available in the market which can be used to provide the resiliency to microservice architecture. Okay, now this microservice architecture is also helping us on the organizational alignment level as well. Now, when we discuss about monolithic application, we saw that there are the possibility that there are some dependencies on the resources who are working on this application since so many years, and it is not easy to replace these resources immediately, right? But on the microservice architecture side, it is quite easy because it is just a small piece of application where the team is working on or the resource is working on, and it is easy to replace this resource with the new resource because within short period of time he can really achieve the complete knowledge of that microservice. Okay, then principles of microservices. Now in microservice architecture we can really provide the automation to the individual microservice. Hide implementation details. Yes, of course, one microservice do not know anything about another microservice. They only know the contracts in between. They only know the REST API they need to call. Decentralize all the things. Yes, all the microservices are independent and they are not dependent on each other. At the same time, they are not dependent on any centralized things as well, like we have in SOA architecture. Deploy independently. Yes, we can deploy individual microservices independently. Customer first. In microservice architecture, we can really give a fast response to the customer's requirement. Isolate failure, as I said, if one microservice is down, it is not impacting the other microservice at the same time. The complete application is not down. Highly observable, one dedicated team is continuously working on a particular microservice, so they know in and out of the microservice. So anything failed in that microservice, they can immediately fix it. So it is said it is highly observable. And model around business domain. Now we have already seen this when we saw the definition of microservice architecture, that in microservice architecture we need to first define the business domain, and then we will decide what will be the different microservices and what will be the different technology to implement it. Then we will discuss about the REST API. As we know, the REST API is used for the microservice communication. Obviously, we cannot go in much details on this topic, but we will discuss it roughly. Now, REST is nothing but the representational state transfer. It is one of the web-based framework which is used for client-server communication, and it always exposes the current state of the object. Now there are some methods in REST like get, put, post, delete, which are generally used to get the resource, to add the new resource, to update the resource, and to delete the resource. These are generally called as verbs in REST API. Now main difference between the SOAP-based web services and RESTful web services are like in SOAP, it may be stateless or stateful, but in RESTful web services, it is always HTTP and it is stateless. Now SOAP expose XML, but in the REST it will be always the current state of the object, and it may be exposed in the form of JSON or XML, string, image, and so on. Now, SOAP-based web services expose the business logic, but RESTful web services always expose the current state of the object. It is one of the example how you can create the URI in REST API. Now there are certain rules while creating it. For example, it should be always noun in plural. It should be always small in letter, and your URI should always support the backward compatibility. Okay. Then purpose of the verbs in REST API. Now, as we have seen, there are different verbs in REST API. For example, get is used to get the current state of the object. Put is to update the current state of the object. Post is to add the new resource, and delete to delete the resource. So similarly, suppose we have this URI which is exposing the current state of the packages, and now we have to perform different operation on these packages. For example, first we need to fetch the packages. We also need to modify the packages. We have to add new packages, and we need to delete the existing packages as well. Now for all such four operations, there should not be separate URI exposed for the client. Rather, there should be only one URI, and from the client side, we will just send different verbs along with this URI, which will be enough to identify which operations needs to perform on the server side. Okay, then for contract signing, now when two microservices has to communicate with each other, they just have to finalize their contract. They just have to finalize their REST API contract between them. They do not need to know the under implementation behind that REST API. Okay, and once that contract is finalized between the two services, one will expose that REST API and another will add the code to consume that REST API. Now, once this REST API contract is finalized between the microservices team, then it is up to the team how they implement it. It is up to the team which technology they will use to expose this REST API, and consumer side team will decide how they will consume it. So they are independent now. They can choose any technology to expose and consume this REST API. So that was all about the REST API. So it was all about what is microservice, their characteristics and their principles. Thanks for watching this video. I will see you in the next video with the next topics related to the microservice architecture.